thousands more poured in to continue to fight for their brothers and sisters.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 confrontational Jon Stewart moments. We're looking at the times Jon Stewart confronted a person, a group of people, or a system, either satirically or deadly serious, on a show or behind the scenes.
You're right, and Cinco de Mayo, we had the Trump Tower Taco Bowl, and that's one of the healingest meals on the Trump Tower menu.
Number 10. Critique of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE.
Let me see if I can noodle. You know what? Let me join DOGE. I'm going to see if I can noodle some ideas here. I want to get down some certain ideas. I want to do.
If anyone thought Jon Stewart would be less passionate or at least turn things down a notch after the 2024 U.S. election, they should watch his takedown of DOGE. Stewart picks apart Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency in true Daily Show comedic style, and then pulls out a light, a calculator, and a ceramic mug. The props are for a bit where Stewart tries to figure out better ways for the government to save money. He quickly abandons the character and declares that subsidizing oil, gas, and pharmaceutical companies is the problem. Stewart's delivery is so passionate that he accidentally injures his hand by breaking the mug.
Because we've already paid for it with our subsidies. Come on!
He finishes the segment with his hand under the desk and references the injury the following week.
If I can just pick up something from the last time that I was out here. I'd made a bit of a critique of Elon Musk and the Doge program. Let me reset the scene. I am not allowed to have big boy mugs anymore.
Number 9, Pizza Rant.
With all due respect, you stack slices of pizza. The steam from the bottom of the slice is going to make the top crust. You piece of
Most of the entries on this list deal with rather serious subject matter. New York pizza, for Stewart, is in no way trivial. In 2011, future President Donald Trump was showing former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin around New York City when the pair decided to try the dish. Stewart first critiqued Trump's choice to take Palin to a chain, Famous Familia, and named quite a few alternate authentic NYC options they could have gone to instead.
No disrespect. I apologize. Let's continue with the meeting. Are you eating it with a fork?
Stewart started to lose it when Trump stacked up 2 pizzas, but went full rant mode when the TV businessman and aspiring politician started using a knife and fork. Stewart questioned Trump's status as a real New Yorker, suggesting he might as well stick that fork in New York's eye.
Donald Trump, why don't you just take that fork and stick it right in New York's eye?
Number 8, versus Bill OReilly.
You actually have an influence on this presidential election.
Oh,
that is scary.
If that were so, that would be quite frightening.
But it's true.
Jon Stewart versus Fox News host Bill OReilly was one of the great TV rivalries of the George W. Bush years. It started with both hosts mocking each other's takes on the news on their respective shows. Then they appeared on each other's shows, taking combative yet comedic jabs at each other.
You know,
and when you say younger, are you talking 9, 10? What are we talking here?
I'm talking about 18 and 25. You know,
done.
The people who are on your intellectual level.
Thank you.
They seek that.
They would later sell out a public streamed debate, the rumble in the air-conditioned auditorium, and would continue to spar as long as they both had shows. Stewart shines when out of his element, so the times he made the trip across town and appeared on The O'Reilly Factor are the standouts of this pundit feud.
Don't you think that these guys want to be hip when McCain goes on with you? Bush hasn't been on with you, right? You would remember that, would
George
you?
Bush?
Yeah.
I don't recall the president stopping by the program.
Number 7, the Charleston shooting.
Well, tragedy has visited this church. This wasn't a tornado. This was a racist. This was a guy with a Rhodesia badge on his sweater.
In 2015, a white supremacist opened fire in the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, killing 9 people. Stewart dispensed with all comedy, as he had done before, but this time, he also called out the media narrative that said tragedy had visited the oldest black church in the southern U.S. Stewart remarked that, quote, "This wasn't a tornado, this was a racist. He went on to mention that the roads the churchgoers drive on are all named after Confederate generals, and that the Confederate flag flies over South Carolina.
In South Carolina, the roads that black people drive on are named for Confederate generals who fought to keep black people from being able to drive freely on that road. That's insanity.
It did fly over the State House at the time, but officials removed it shortly thereafter as a direct result of the shooting. Whether Stewart's words helped the cause is unclear, but they certainly didn't hurt.
We're bringing it on ourselves. And that's the thing. Al-Qaeda, all those guys, ISIS, they're not compared to the damage that we can apparently do to ourselves on a regular basis.
Number 6, defending trans rights.
98%
Wow.
without that medical treatment.
That's an incredibly made-up figure. That doesn't comport with any of the studies or documentation that exists from these medical organizations.
One of Jon Stewart's greatest qualities as a debater is his ability to bluntly, calmly, and politely call someone a liar to their face. Always backed up by the facts, his unsuspecting opponents don't stand a chance. After describing recent right-wing trans panic to his audience, Stewart sat down with Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge to discuss denying gender-affirming care to trans youth. Rutledge responded to Stewart's first question by claiming there are as many doctors and scientists against providing medication as there are for it. Stewart simply replied, "But you know that's not true," and didn't let up from there.
That there are many instances where...
But you know that's not true. You know it's not for everyone. There's one. These are the established.
Well, I don't know that's not true. I don't know that.
Then why would you pass a law then if you don't know that that's true?
He spends the rest of the interview attacking the validity of the AG's data, underlying her arguments with classic Stewart deadpan sarcasm.
You're making it sound like a 9-year-old walks into a doctor's office and says, "Give me some testosterone." And the doctor goes, "Oh, thank God, because we're wanting to create an army of transgenders because we're crazy."
Number 5, taking down Jim Cramer.
And I didn't do this, but I'm trying to explain to people, this is the shenanigans.
It sounded like you were talking about that you had done it.
Then I was inarticulate.
In 2009, Stewart set his critical sights on CNBC, accusing the network of irresponsible financial journalism that contributed to the 2008 financial crisis. Stewart singled out Mad Money host Jim Cramer, who in turn publicly objected to the critique. The two had a showdown on The Daily Show, with Stewart not pulling any punches, using archival footage to make the point that Kramer's on-air presentation lacks honesty.
Well, see, that's interesting. Roll 210.
Sure. I would encourage anyone who's in the hedge fund game to do it because it's legal,
Right.
and it's a very quick way to make money and very satisfying.
Okay. Well,
By the way, no one else in the world would ever admit that, but I don't care.
that's right, and you can say that here.
I can't. I'm not going to say it on TV.
A subdued Kramer argued some points, but admitted he could have done better with his financial coverage and would strive to do so. This widely shared segment would prove detrimental to CNBC's credibility and viewership. Kramer would go on to say that he wasn't prepared for Stewart's intense interview style, which he characterized as an unfair attack.
It was very clear that he was attacking me personally. I was trying to keep it at a high level, but he was vicious and he was ad hominem in the way he attacked me. And then when I tried to defend myself, he said he was attacking the network. So his method of arguing was brilliant in the way it was meant strictly to try to get me fired.
Number 4, taking on Crossfire.
It's not so much that it's bad as it's hurting America.
Stop hurting America. That's what Jon Stewart pleaded to Crossfire hosts Tucker Carlson and Paul Begala when he was a guest on their CNN show. They thought Stewart would be funny. Instead, he was deadly serious, critical of the partisan divisions Crossfire promotes.
Part of their strategies. Your partisan, what do you call it, hacks.
Wait, John, wait.
When the hosts tried to turn the tables and attack Stewart for giving Democratic presidential candidate John Kerry a few softball questions, Stewart responded by reminding Carlson and Begala that they were on CNN while his lead-in was puppets making crank phone calls.
Are you kidding me?
You're on CNN. The show that leads into me is puppets making crank phone calls. What is wrong with you?
The audience in attendance sided with Stewart. So did the internet. And it looks like CNN may have as well. A few months after his interview, the network canceled the show after 23 years on the air. Number 3, Lena Khan and Apple TV.
But when we're going up against some of these monopolistic companies, they can outmatch us, outgun us, sometimes 1 to 10, just if you're looking at lawyers.
Stewart and Apple TV parted ways in 2023 after 2 short years of working on The Problem with Jon Stewart. The host would reveal in broad terms that they disagreed on some proposed segments for the show's 3rd season. But when he took back the helm of The Daily Show, we finally got the real dirt. Stewart had Federal Trade Commission Chair Lena Khan as a guest, and during the interview, he revealed that he had tried to book her on a podcast, but Apple TV executives nixed it.
I got to tell you, I wanted to have you on a podcast, and Apple asked us not to do it, to have you. They literally said, please don't talk to her.
Stewart says he feels that Apple has every right to censor what they want, but he contrasts their actions with those of Comedy Central parent Viacom, who just want him to be provocative.
That hurts Americans and American communities in all sorts of ways, and even leads to, for example, planes falling apart in the sky.
Wait, what? I always thought that was all just DEI.
Number 2, debating gun laws.
A potential.
But more guns makes us safer. So why don't, when the police go to a house filled with guns, why don't they breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that this Second Amendment that shall not be infringed is being exercised so fruitfully?
In what can be described as a masterclass in using logic to win a debate, Jon Stewart sat down with Oklahoma State Senator Nathan Dahm to discuss gun control. Dahm is a self-professed Second Amendment absolutist against all forms of gun regulation and control. Stewart showed how this position makes Dahm an agent of chaos, not order.
What you're doing is you're bringing chaos to order.
That's your subjective opinion, that it's bringing chaos to order.
It's not my subjective opinion. We have 50,000 gun-related deaths. That's not a subjective opinion.
Okay, so
that's dead people.
Stewart then used the senator's declared stances on border security, fentanyl, and drag queens reading to children to show how his views on guns are inconsistent with everything else he believes. Dahm attempted to label Stewart's arguments as opinion, which Stewart demonstrated wasn't the case. After showing Dahm the hypocrisy in his gun views, Stewart concluded by directly calling him out on it.
So your solution to that is give them more guns.
So I'm saying that because people are the problem, we need to look at the problems that those people are facing and how do we address it.
But you've removed the ability for the state to do that.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications.
Number 1, shaming Congress for 9/11 first responders.
A filled room of 9/11 first responders, and in front of me, a nearly empty Congress.
Jon Stewart has a history of fighting for 9/11 first responders. He advocated for them multiple times on The Daily Show back when Congress was debating their health benefits. Sometimes Stewart would drop the comedy entirely and let the real responders tell their stories. Congress would pass the James L. Zadogra 9/11 Health and Compensation Act, but in 2019, they were debating cuts to the 9/11 Victims Fund. Stewart went to the Hill to oppose the cuts in person, but was shocked to be met with a nearly empty room. He shamed the elected officials for their seeming lack of interest.
This hearing should be flipped. These men and women should be up on that stage, and Congress should be down here answering their questions as to why this is so damn hard and takes so damn long. And why, no matter what they get, something's always pulled back, and they got to come back.
Stewart's speech went viral, and as a result, Congress reauthorized the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund until 2092.
They responded in 5 seconds. They did their jobs with courage, grace, tenacity, humility. 18 years later, do yours.
Do you agree with our list? Are there any times Jon Stewart fought the good fight that you'd like to see included? Let us know in the comments.
I thought Donald Trump was going to speak. Ivanka said that he was going to come out. She said he was really compassionate and generous, but then this angry groundhog came out, and he just vomited on everybody for an hour.